Doesn't it sound like heaven to love your teen so well that they can't help themselves but love you back? Welcome to Pivot Parenting. I'm your host, Heather Frazier. And together, you and I are going to build more peace and joy so that your family looks forward to being together in the fun times and so that you are strong enough to overcome any obstacle that your family might face. This is where small weekly shifts that you implement create lasting change so that peace and happiness can truly abound in your home. Hey, my friend, welcome to today's episode of Pivot Parenting. I have a very special guest today, Sonia, and we are going to discuss a very important aspect around loving our teens. Because let me ask you, when you're thinking about your teen, do you experience worry, frustration, a need for them to change, or for you to have more control over what is happening so that you can feel better? Do you feel yourself bouncing between anger and apathy, just trying to find somewhere soft to land? Do you care so much about them that you find yourself being tied into a pretzel just to please them, and then it doesn't really even work? If this is at all relatable, you could be misunderstanding and misapplying love in your family. Welcome to my 12 episode series on love. Let's put fear, frustration, and heartbreak behind us as I teach you how to embrace and understand love so well that your relationship with them and yourself can't help but improve. You will want to begin with the first 3 episodes as they set up the foundation of love. That means they begin at episode 310, 311, and 312. They build on each other. We want to create a stage with a nice foundation. Today, we are talking about thinking outside of the box and showing and expressing love to our teens. Today, I'm speaking to Sonja Suthar, and she's a 19-year-old founder of Cloud9. This is a company focused on helping teens build leadership, emotional intelligence, and entrepreneurial life skills. Through workshops and speaking engagements, she supports young people and their parents in developing confidence, communication, and real-world readiness while strengthening connection at home. So if you're looking for somewhere for your teen to learn while you're learning here with me, she is a fantastic resource. I have put all of her links, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. She also has a TED Talk, all in the show notes that you'll want to check out. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Sonia. Sonia, welcome to today's episode.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to have you here because you offer a fresh perspective. Am I correct in that you're 19 years old?
Yes, you are.
Okay, and you've already done a TED Talk, which is excellent.
Thank you.
And I loved your stories about the school pickup and then
Mhm.
also your mom's birthday dinner.
Yes.
Can you tell me, in your experience, you're part of the series on love. In fact, next week's episode is the final episode, unless, of course, I just can't help myself and I do more. But next week is supposed to be the last episode on our 12-part series in love. And listening to your TED Talk, it really struck me how parents want to love their kids and kids want to love their parents. And you mentioned how we're both just speaking different languages.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what that looks like in real time and all the listeners who didn't hear your TED Talk?
Yeah, totally. So it's essentially, and this is like a super simple example of, okay, a teen comes home and they've had a really tough day at school. And then they're telling their mom, and they're like, I had a really tough day. I like bombed my math test even though I spent like all day studying for it. And then the mom comes in and starts like trying to help them and being like, okay, well, did you get enough sleep? Did you study enough? Blah, blah, blah. Like they're just trying to like fix and try to help, right? And give advice. And so as you guys know, like from the mom's point of view, she like loves her kid so much that she wants her kid to succeed. So then she is trying to ask and tell them what they should do to ensure that success so that doesn't happen again. But then, from the teen's perspective, it feels like the mom doesn't believe in them and doesn't think that they are able to figure it out on their own. And they were coming home and they were talking to their mom for support. And sometimes it's just emotional support of like, I hear you, I'm sorry, that sounds like a really tough time. Let me know if I can help you in any way. Instead of necessarily like telling them what to do, it's like, thank you for sharing that with me. Do you want to solve it together or do you want to just take this to be a moment? And the teen loves their mom and they want that support. And the mom loves their teen, but it's just like that translation is hard to understand when you guys don't necessarily know like where the parent's coming from and where the teen's coming from.
That leads to my second question. How do we as moms know what response our kid wants
Yeah,
and how to
that's
best comfort or support them?
it's a great question, and you won't always know. And the way that you can do it, one is by like judging your kid when you're doing certain things. Notice their body language, notice their tone, like see like how are they reacting? Like I know like when my mom used to be like, "Oh, did you get enough sleep?" I'd be like I'd pull away slightly and be like you can feel like the energy and the tension like change up. But then also you can ask them this question. And I call this the three H's of do you want to be heard, helped, or held? So after they vent, after they're talking about whatever they're saying, you ask them and be like, how can I support you best? This forces the teen to reflect and be like, what do I need to be most supported? And then the mom or their dad is able to support them in the way that they need it. And so they know exactly what to do, which relieves a lot of stress on both sides and it removes that lost in translation kind of thing.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I really like it. You're saying pick up on context clues and read your
Hmm.
child's body language. I completely agree. Also, what if a parent cannot help themselves but point out that the kid sabotaged himself because he didn't get enough sleep or because he was playing video games and didn't actually study? And they really want to be like, well, next time don't sit on your phone all day. Actually crack open your book.
Hmm.
When a parent does that, how does the teen interpret that? Translate that to teen for me.
Translating that to teen would be like, I know that, but I was doing other things and I just didn't think it was important at the time, or like I just thought I was prepared or I thought I was going to do good enough and I just didn't know like what tools or what standard I was trying to reach. I guess I didn't have a goal of what to do, so I just like was sad when I got the score, but I didn't even think about that in the present moment back then where I was like, maybe I do want to get an A, maybe I don't want to fail this test. So it was like, okay, I looked over it, I glanced, it was fine. And that's
Or
probably
I'm
what it.
too overwhelmed and I don't even want to try.
Yeah, or like I thought about it, I procrastinated, but I thought about it and I thought I
Yeah.
was gonna do it and then I didn't do it.
Okay. So when the parent was like, I kind of told you so, or you shouldn't have done XYZ, how does that translate? When a parent says, well, maybe you shouldn't have played video games all afternoon.
That translates into like you're removing status and respect from the teen. It's like, okay, I'm not good enough. You don't trust me to do this on my own. I don't have any autonomy. You're telling me what to do.
Okay, I really like that because it leads me to my second point about your TED Talk and about your message for parents, which is about respect. And it goes against cultural norms that respect is to be earned and not given, that elders are at the hierarchy of respect. So explain to everybody listening your fresh take on respect.
Yeah, so I think that respect is earned both ways, and parents are the biggest influences in your younger child's life. And so by knowing this, you want to be the best model that you can, and you want to give your teen respect, so then they will respect you. And it's not respect of like listening, but it's validating what they feel. It's being curious and interested in what they're saying, asking them like questions, and really understanding like their thoughts are valuable too. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're always right, but like listening and approaching it from a more like collaborative tone is more beneficial than not listening to them at all. And then from the teen side too, when you respect your teen, then the teen is going to be like, oh, my parent hears me and listens to me when I say these things and when I try to come up with decisions. And so they're going to do it too because parents are the biggest examples for their teen. They're the biggest influences, and they're going to want to listen to their parents when their parents listen to them. It's not like your boundaries are being crossed and that you're not the superior, but it's like you both validate each other's feelings. And parents should have boundaries. You should be like, this is one thing that I'm not comfortable with, and we can collaborate and we can try to make sure that we can negotiate and have a good decision, but I'm not comfortable with you going over to your friend's house who I've never met the parents before. And that's totally acceptable for parents to have boundaries, but giving reasons why and collaborating with your teen to make a healthier answer and negotiating around these things gives respect to both sides.
Imagine your teen walking into the room and your heart skips a beat because you're so excited to see them. Just connection, love, and peace flowing between you. You're confident that no matter their mood, it's going to be okay. This is the powerful skill set my clients gain. Book a free Discover Your Disconnection Pattern call with me, and I will outline your exact process to find the peace, connection, and confidence in your teen and their future you're wanting. Visit my website, heatherfraser.com, or click the link in the show notes. Remember, Fraser is spelled with a Z-I in the middle. I look forward to meeting and helping you. Okay, so if I'm understanding you correctly, respect is something that as the parent, you don't demand it, you give it.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like the philosophy of the more power and authority, the more service oriented you should be, or giving more than you expect to receive, because you don't necessarily need that because you are in a position of authority.
Yeah, and it's like the golden rule, like very simply, treat others how you want to be treated, treat your kid how you want your kid to treat you. And that starts with respect on both ends.
How have you seen that affect communication? When parents and teens have struggled with communication, and then parents start offering more respect maybe before they think that it is earned or deserved, what results have you seen from that?
So, one of the biggest results is in my own family. And that's when my parents started collaborating with me on different things when I was very little and I got in trouble. And then they were like, okay, what do you think is the punishment that you deserve? And then I would give them like a bigger punishment than my parents would ever give me because it's like, I'm like, okay, well, if I'm in this authority position, I have like independence, autonomy to make this decision, then I want to make sure that I don't do it again. It's like you have the power in yourself to stop that behavior that's unhealthy or not the one that your parents are really wanting you to use. So when you give that respect, even though you don't think that they earn it from the parent position, then they're forced to take control of their life. They're not living passively through you and listening to what you're saying, but they're genuinely like trying to solve the problem. And so like when you give teens and kids like a problem to solve and you are like, "Hey, like I'd like you to figure this out. This is my boundaries and this is what we're both trying to achieve. You want to go and go to a party and I want to make sure that you're safe. How can we come to this together?" And then they're going to be forced to problem solve so they get what they want, but then they're also aware of your boundaries.
I like that. It to me feels very loving towards everyone, both the parent and the child, in the sense that nobody's trying to be superior, nobody is filled with fear, and it's open and accepting and mutually loving.
Yeah, and It definitely takes time too. Because if your kid's in a very, very bad state, they're gonna be like, oh, I don't deserve any punishment, or you should just listen to what I say. And that's something where I've definitely been there. And once the teen realizes and you're unwavering and I want to collaborate together, but if you don't collaborate with me, then I'm forced to pick a solution that's going to work for me, but I'm not able to understand where you're coming from, so we're not going to be able to create a good decision together. And so then if you continuously emphasize that you want to collaborate, you want to support them, then eventually they're going to be like, well, crap. I do want to get a better solution than my parents just telling me what to do. So eventually they're going to listen to you.
Have you seen this play out with peers or clients?
Definitely it happens, and it's definitely happened with my brother too. He will eventually concede and be like, okay, yeah, I want a solution. Let me try to figure this out together.
Yeah, I think this is a great token of good faith in our kids to be able to say, I know you're going to fail, and I trust that you're going to figure it out and learn and grow, and I'm going to love you all the while.
Mm-hmm.
So, what tips and tricks or shortcuts would you have for parents who want to speak more of this loving language to their kids so that they aren't lost in the lurch of, I'm trying to support my kid, but this isn't how they want it? Besides, the three H's are amazing. Are there any other tools that you have or things to look for? Parents really like practical, applicable. How do I make this happen? Because I'm sick of what's happening and I don't know how to fix. Like, I just love them and they don't even want to talk to me.
Totally, totally. And so one thing is being curious and just like asking them questions before telling them what to do. And then secondly, if they don't want to talk to you and they're just so closed down, it's that it's incredibly hard because like I've seen my parents go through it and other people go through it of just telling your kid and being like knocking on their door and being like, "Hey, I know that you're not wanting to talk right now, but I just want to say that I'm here for you. Let me know if you need anything or if I can support you in any way." And just
Okay.
over and over, that repetition of a positive grounding word of I'm here for you and showing that unconditional love that they belong with you, like they're always going to have that support system. That's something that you can always do, especially if they're shut down, because they'll eventually be like, I do want to talk. I do want that support. And it
Yeah.
and
Patience in the process.
it's incredibly hard. It's so much easier to say it than like any parent actually doing it. And I couldn't even fathom how hard that would be, especially like loving your child so much and then they're just so closed down because they're going through their own things. And most of the time it's not a reflection on the parent. And that's something where I had to explain to my parents of like, it's not a reflection of you, but I'm just going through things on my in my own life, and I'm sorry that this is where it like shows most presently, but it's probably also because I was most comfortable at home. All of the negative emotions and things that you go through in the day to day are just coming out of you when you're like home. And so it's like it's usually not the parent's fault. It's just like the kid is just so overwhelmed with this world. And then I would also say storytelling. If you want to try to get into your kids like brain like this is what you shouldn't do, telling them stories of hey, like back in the day when I went to this party and I did this thing and then it happened, like blue bub bleep happened, and then to like this undesirable result. Like I remember as a kid, I loved hearing stories from like my mom and dad, and I'd ask my grandmother about stories. And so it lessened over time just because like my parents forgot all the things that happened in their childhood. But go and call your mom and be like, "Hey, let me know if there's any stories that I can like remember." And it's just so fun for kids to listen to stories, and stories are always telling you different moral lessons. And so when you can connect with your kid by being vulnerable, being transparent, and secretly telling them a lesson at the same time, it's such a fun tool, tip, and connection way to connect.
That's amazing. I really like that. And I like that it's not about the parent. That's an important thing to remember. It makes it a lot easier to extend love to our child when we don't see them as trying to intentionally harm us.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah. So, what fun stories do you have about how you learned this in real time as you're now exiting adolescence, joining the adult world? Do you have any really fun stories?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely a rebellious kid, and like being the oldest child, being the oldest girl, and then having both of my parents are first generation in America, and so they had very strict parents. And they're both younger children who were also very rebellious. So of course that they have two very rebellious kids. My younger brother is also very rebellious. And so it was this whole thing of it was usually me and my brother against my parents. And my dad continuously tried to be like, we're a team. We're a team. Like we work together. And one of the things that I did that was really silly is I decided that I was going to throw a party. And my parents were gone for my like birthday. Like they were gonna come home on the day of my birthday, and so I was having the weekend alone. And so I was gonna have my friends over and I was gonna throw a party, and so we had security cameras. And so I went and I climbed up and I disabled the security cameras in our living room and kitchen so I could host the party. And I was like, it was a half thought through plan because I invited everyone, but I didn't have a way to get food or decorations or anything like that because I couldn't even drive at the time. So it was, there's a lot of like problems with this said plan.
Teenagers aren't known for thinking things through. That's all right.
Yeah, exactly. And so I do it and I'm it's like the day or two before and I get scared and I get nervous and so I decide to cancel it. And then 3 months later, like my parents figure out that the security cameras are disconnected and they're like all like frustrated and things like that. And I like decide to be honest with them because my brother was gonna take the fall for me and I was like, no, like I'm gonna
It's
be
nice of
honest.
you.
Yeah, yeah. We're such like a team, so it's like we'll take the fall from each other. But like decided to be honest and be the bigger person. And so like over time of being honest with my parents and like being the bigger person, the amount of like less tension you have in your body when you're not like walking into your parents' house and you know that you haven't done something wrong is so much better than like walking in and you're like, oh no, I totally did something wrong. I'm gonna hide from them or run to my room. And so it's really like crazy just like changing that and having that open communication. And it was like from both sides because it was definitely not just my parents because I had to change too and I had to find grace in my parents and realize that they weren't perfect. And I think that's also where storytelling is really helpful is because you also show your kids you're not perfect and that you've made mistakes. And so there's no expectation to be perfect, but just be honest and be curious. And that's super valuable. And so one of the best things that I think my family did towards the end of like me graduating was weekly meetings where we would sit down at the dinner table every Monday and we would go through what's working well, giving compliments to each person in the family, what's not working well, is there anything we can improve on as a family, specific individuals, etc. So it's like my mom wanted more help with the dishes, so then we're like, okay, we can all help support you on that. And then like old business, what are things that we've resolved last meetings that are they still working well? Are they not working well? And so it's like that continuous progress framework of like, we're not just treating this as a family that we're not intentional about, but we're genuinely being present, intentional, and trying to figure out how can we make this family work as well as it can and listen to every single person in it.
That is extraordinarily loving and inclusive and supportive. I love that.
Yeah,
Mom gets help with dishes, kids are heard.
exactly.
All good. That's amazing. Okay, Sonia, is there anything else that the listeners need to know?
I think that we've talked about a lot. So after listening to this episode, if there's one specific thing that really stuck out to you, try to practice that one thing. And that would be a win from listening to this podcast because it's kind of unreasonable to do it all, but one thing, that would be a win.
I love that. Very realistic. Thank you for coming on.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Heather is the one, an expert in the field. She knows her parenting stuff, including how confusing it can be. You've tried it all, and it's a lost cause. Crying in the closet